This week on Personally Speaking, our guest is Lidia Bastianich. You know Lidia as the TV chef. She's also a great author and the successful owner and operator of any number of restaurants where people flock to because of her great food, and I think in many ways because of her great personality. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Personally Speaking. I'm your host, Msgr Jim Lisante, and one of the best-loved chefs, Lidia Bastianich, joins me now. Lidia is an Emmy Award-winning public television host. She's also a best-selling author, a successful restaurateur, and the owner of a flourishing food and entertainment business. In 2008, Pope Benedict XVI chose Lidia to cook for him during his visit to New York City. And then in 2015, Pope Francis also chose Lidia to cook for him during his much lauded visit to New York City. Lidia works with her son Joseph and her daughter Tanya in her multiple culinary endeavors. Her latest book, co-authored with her daughter Tanya, is called Lidia's A Pot, a Pan, and a Bowl: Simple Recipes for Perfect Meals. She's here with us today to talk about that, as well as about her life, her family, her faith, and why cooking remains a way of connecting to others. Joining me now, I'm so pleased to welcome to Personally Speaking once again our friend Lidia Bastianich. I want to thank Lidia for being with us and welcome her to Personally Speaking. I should say welcome her back to Personally Speaking. Lidia, we're going to talk about this wonderful new book. It's called Lidia's A Pot, a Pan, and a Bowl. We'll talk about that, but beforehand, Lidia, when I'm in the city, I like to frequent places. You may have heard of them. One called Lidia, another one called Becco. And then when it used to be open, I would go to your son's place. When I had someone else paying for the bill, I'd go to Del Posto. But I mention all that. I mention all that because when I'm on Long Island, I go to a place called Dario's in Rockville Center, and the family there, they come from the same part of the world you come
They
from.
They do. I know Dario. The Dario and the kids are running it now.
Viscovich, I think they
exactly.
But let me ask you something. People don't know. Is that Yugoslavia? Is that Italy? The roots for people like yourself and their family. Where is it?
Okay, now it's Croatia.
It's Croatia. Okay.
Now it's Croatia, but it was Italy. Before that, it was also Austria-Hungarian. Then Yugoslavia after World War II. You know, Italy lost the war, so it lost that area. So it became Yugoslavia, and then Croatia. So back and forth. But actually, the culture there, the people there, are really border kind of people.
Okay.
We speak more than one language, 2, 3. I am Italian and we speak Italian at home and whatever, but I speak Croatian or Yugoslavian as well. And so it's a borderline situation, Father.
Okay. And what year did you come from there to our country?
1958.
1958. So tell us a little bit about that. Growing up in what is a little bit Italy, a little bit Yugoslavia, what was life like for you after the war?
Well, the war ended in 1944.
Right.
There was a few years of decision making there. In 1947, the Paris Treaty, and that's the year I was born, ultimately decided where the border would go. And Istria, which is the little peninsula that is now kind of Croatia, that's where I was born. And that became Yugoslavia. Became communist Yugoslavia. Right. We were restricted. We couldn't speak Italian. We couldn't go to church. We couldn't do many things.
Wow.
And life was tough. You know, I grew up in a situation as a child. When you grow up, you realize that there's something different that when you whisper in Italian, right. Or where my grandma would take me to church now and then because my mother was a teacher and she couldn't be seen going to church because of communism. So there were a lot of restriction in growing up. So, you realize there's something that's not right. And in 1956, my parents decided they needed to move on. And my mother, my brother, and I went to visit family because we had family on the other side of the border that remained in Italy. They wouldn't let the whole family go, Father. Because they held one person as a hostage, which was my father. And about 10 days after we were with my aunt in Trieste, Italy, he escaped the border and joined us. I mean, they shot at him and whatever, he made it. And we were in Trieste with our relatives. But, my parents wanted to set their own lives. My father didn't have any papers because he escaped, ultimately went to the police. They put us in a political refugee camp, San Saba. The camp is now in Trieste. It's a museum. And we were there for 2 years, from 56 to 58. And then Dwight Eisenhower was the president. He opened the immigration for people fleeing communism. And that's what we were. And the Catholic Relief Services brought us to America. When Dwight Eisenhower opened that visa, we got the visa, and the Catholic Relief Services and the Catholic Charities brought us to America. We have nobody here. They got us going. And you see, with the help of people and God and whatever, you go places.
Lidia, when your family left what is now Croatia, at that point it was still Italian, they had to have left everything behind, huh?
Everything. We left everything behind. Grandma was there. So, they sort of got, there wasn't much to leave, but nonetheless, it was grandma and grandpa and some of the cousins that were there kind of took whatever was there, but we left everything behind. Nothing came with us.
I know you were very young, but do you have any memories of the refugee camp?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No. I remember vividly, 2 years. I mean, when we first came in, and I was young, I was 9 or whatever, it was, it really, because they quarantine you. They take you, they separate, they separated my father. My mother and my brother and I stayed together because the children stayed with the parents, but they separated my father. And, I still remember the angoscia, shall we say, of maybe, feeling that I will never see my father again. And so, they quarantine you, they disinfect you, all of the procedures going through the camp. And we were kind of in this quarantine for 40 days in this dark place, looks like a prison. We had a little window that we could see outside. So it was, I remember vividly. And even after that, we were set in little kind of cubicles of houses. We had 2 sort of beds on top of each other. What do they call them? One for me, my brother, and one for my parents, in this little kind of room in this big loft where many families, and the rooms were only separated by plywood or things like that. There was no real privacy, and for food, we went online every day downstairs. There was, La Mensa, the dining hall, and we all with a little plate went online for food. So, for me to end up cooking food and all of that, there was time when I was not having enough food.
Yeah. Lidia, when I said that I was having you on the program today, people said, Monsignor Jim, do you know how to say her last name? And I said, I'm going to ask her that. What's the proper way to say it?
Bastianich.
Okay, I got it right. Good.
Yeah.
Now, going back to that whole experience of coming from another country to this country, when we all watch what's going on the southern border, and I said to the people in my parish recently, I know we all wish there could be laws that would make this thing smoother, but I said, try to imagine, if you can, that you were a parent knowing that there was no hope for your children. There was only poverty and violence. Wouldn't you do anything you had to save your children and give them a better future? And I want people to keep that in mind. I mention that because you can't, as a person who migrated from another country and went through a challenging process to do it, you can't watch all these controversies in America without having some spirit of resonance. Do you have any insight, Lidia, into what our disposition should be toward the person who wants to come to America?
Absolutely. I was in that condition. We were lucky enough that, we were given an opportunity to come. We were being helped by the community, the Catholic Charities. When they brought us here, and they found a little home for us in New Jersey. And then the whole Catholic community, really, the Italians, the Italian Americans, rallied and brought us. They were bringing food to us at home. They were bringing clothes. They were bringing chairs, towels, all of this. So they kind of, this helping each other. So absolutely, I am a product of somebody that was given a chance, that was helped by the goodness of others, pure, no major organization, just people that would come with their shopping bags full of things. They knew that this new family had moved in and they had 2 kids and they would bring things for us. So absolutely, it breaks my heart to see those children and the families and kind of, trekking through the desert, through the rivers and all of that. Having said that, I also, remember being very grateful and very respectful of the country that till this day, I knew that, I was given a great opportunity and I respect and honor this country and my parents worked from the very beginning. So you have to, it's a two-way street. We have to give them the opportunity. We have to help them. And on the other hand, they have to sort of get the strength to pull their family together, to build and to become part of this great country and to help to construct this great country. Because, look at the Italian immigrants a while back, all the roads that were built, the railroads that were built, they worked very hard. They were given an opportunity for their family. And, I think one of the greatest gifts and opportunities is also education. An opportunity for children to be educated, because when you're educated, you have an opportunity to a new life, to make for yourself a life worth living.
Lydia, you've heard him say, and I have too, Pope Francis often speaks about the importance of the Christian conscience to welcome the stranger. And some people in our country will say, oh, he's such a liberal because he says that. But actually, it's just fundamental to our Christian belief. And I'm so happy that back then and continuing today, the Catholic Charities and the Catholic Church were there to assist in the process of bringing people to this new land. And that's a wonderful thing. Now, Lydia, for our listeners and watchers around the country and around the world, Lydia went on then to work herself very, very hard to build a business. And my next question, Lydia, would be, how does one, because you're a very, very successful businesswoman, how does one build a business and at the same time build a family?
Well, it takes balancing. But let me say, I think that what's important, that a person really invests in themselves. That they take the time to educate, to be balanced, spiritually balanced, make, you are a special person. On you, the rest of your life and your family's life will be based. So invest in being the right person, the person for this world the right way. Then you get your, whatever your passion is or whatever you achieved, and you need a lot of passion, commitment, and a lot of hard work to achieve something. To achieve in life, you just got to do it. You got to, life, family, being a woman, especially in my industry, it wasn't easy because my industry is a late hour industry, all of that. But I was blessed because, we always as a family stay together. So the togetherness of families is so important for support, for affection, for love, for moral support, all of that. For me, also, for me to achieve what I did is because my mother and my father, they lived with us, whether on in the apartment underneath or next door. We were always close by. So my kids, as I had my kids, we raised them together. They helped me raise my kids, and the children are all the better for it. I think that sometimes older people, grandparents in this society are disregarded. They're finished, they're gone. They're not. They have so much to give.
Right.
They have a whole life experience. They have, they sort of have settled. They don't have any more big goals in their life, but they have the accumulation of all of their experience. They can give strength to the next generation, to their grandchildren, to the great-grandchildren. And, that was my case. I know how much I refer or defer to my grandmother, and my children do the same. So, one thing certainly that I would like to leave out there is respect the grandparents. Bring your children close to your grandparents so they can really support each other, because they need each other.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree with you more, Lydia. I am the caretaker for my 101-year-old mother, but she teaches more than I can ever hope to learn from anybody else.
There you go.
It's a great gift. Now, Lydia, for those who don't know, has a wonderfully successful career as an author of books, the one I mentioned early on, but also as a TV personality, as Lydia the chef that everyone knows. But Lydia, so much of what you do obviously is hands-on, people-to-people restaurant business. How did you and the people that you work with handle the incredible challenge of the pandemic?
Pandemic was a blow to the whole industry. We actually closed all of our restaurants. And, now I'm in the business since 71, so it's 50 years. Wow. And so I had people working for me 30 and more years. I had to let go. It was devastating to see these families that I saw develop and that were part of me. I couldn't help. There's nothing I could have done. So slowly we are rebuilding. It's not the same. Not everything open that we had closed. My kids actually are sort of spearheading the whole system now. And, we are slowly getting back on our feet. I think restaurants are one of the oldest institutions in a sense. People, thousands of years when people traveled, they would stop at to restore. That's what the restaurant name comes from, to restore on their travels. And so the restaurants were thousands of years ago, to help people along the way. But now it's really a social place for people. And I think that given the pandemic and given the social media that we have that keeps us actually isolated, places where people can gather, share food. There's nothing better than sharing food. Right. It's the basis. I mean, the Catholic religion, the Mass is the sharing of. It's the sharing of. So there's nothing better than that. And restaurant will continue to open up and blossom and to be for people. But it was tough. It was really tough. It's still the tough the going is a little tough.
Lydia, very often on a program like this, we have, especially because we're New York based, so many actors from TV and theater. And I'll ask them, if you have children, would you want them to go into the arts? And oddly enough, many of them say, no, there's too much up and down, too much rejection, too much disappointment, heartbreak. If they can't do anything else, then they have to follow their muse. But I asked in the same way, Joseph, your son, and Tanya, these children of yours have followed your path. I'm just wondering, did you ever wish for them to go another direction?
Oh, yes. When they were smaller and growing up, being teenagers, and they would come around the restaurant, and they kind of liked the energy that was going. But I always used to tell them, this is not what you want to do. You had a great opportunity. We came to America. Grandma and grandpa really sacrificed, and you have to get an education, and you have to get a real job, an American job. I didn't know what that meant. Right. But let me tell you, Joe finished his business school, went to Merrill Lynch, worked in Wall Street for quite a few years. My daughter, Tanya, ultimately got her PhD in Renaissance art history from Oxford. Wow. But now they're both in the industry of choice of their own.
And you're happy about that because you love what they've chosen.
Well, I'm happy because that's what they chose at the end. And they're happy. And it makes me proud at the end that they chose to continue what we did, what, the mother and father did.
Let me ask you, I notice even on Lydia's a pot, a pan, and a bowl, as well as so many other places. Obviously, you work closely with Tanya. I'm wondering, because there are so many mothers and children who sometimes can't get along and certainly can't work closely together. What's it like to work closely with people that you obviously love as your children, but now as co-workers? How does that work?
You have to shift gears. It's tough. You have to understand, where motherhood leaves off and where business enters. You cannot cross the borders. But the one thing that I understood was that, they certainly couldn't travel in my shadow. I needed to let them develop so that they can get the gratification, so that they can enjoy themselves, so they can have the growth, express themselves. And, that's one of the reasons that sort of, I let them run the business now. I'm always there. I'm always in the background, but they're running the business. And it's a question of, that doesn't mean that sometimes we don't have our squabbles. Right. You do. But I think it's knowing where parenting ends and finishes and business partners begins, sort of the business element. And you got to keep that separation very firm. It's not easy.
For our listeners and viewers, Lidia, not just in this book, but in other writings, is clearly a woman with a deep and abiding faith that has sustained her, values that last. I mention that, Lidia, because so many parents, grandparents watch and listen to a show like this. Do you have any insight into what did you do right in terms of trying to pass on the values that really matter to you, to the children you love?
Well, I think maybe the path that life has taken me, that God has given me, has given me many opportunities to learn about life. Being the separation of grandma and all that was very hard for me at a young age. But you need to understand that, life brings those kind of things and you have to move on. Then in camp, understanding all these different people, these poor people that were, and they were all, because they were from Eastern Europe, escaping communism. They were from Hungary, they were from Czechoslovakia. So all the diversity of people, and you learn to coexist in a sense. You learn to understand each other the best, give each other a shape. And also when we came to Trieste, back into Italy, there was a woman that was kind enough and paid for me to go to the Canossian nuns, to a school with nuns. And sort of my spiritual, my religion was kind of reinstilled in me. And, I really realized what power that has in one's being, being sort of having this inner belief, credo, that somebody is there for you all the time. That has given me a lot of strength, and I reinforce that continuously. And that you have to forgive me. That doesn't mean that every Sunday I'm at church, but spiritually I am so connected. Did you know that I cooked for Pope Francis and Pope Ratzinger when they came to New York? I cooked for both of them.
Isn't that great? What did you make them?
Well, Pope Ratzinger came first. He's kind of on the German side. So I did a little bit of that German Slavic. His mother was a chef. I did goulash. I did strudel for him. I did a good soup for both of them. I did spätzles for him, sauerkraut. This is, and he really appreciated. Pope Francis, what I wanted to do for Pope Francis, because Argentinian, even though he is from Piedmont originally, but I was going to do a nice piece of prime rib of beef. But the Vatican nixed me, says, no, he's not feeling good. So I made some soup, some nice chicken soup, and then I made some grilled fish. He likes dessert. I make a nice peach tart for him. so it was great. So I had a lot of great opportunities. Last week, I just did a fundraiser for Futures in Education. It's a Brooklyn and Queens diocese with Bishop DiMarzio. This is for children to give them scholarship to be able to attend Catholic school. And they're wonderful. We raised $2.2 million. Can you imagine that?
Isn't that great?
And the wonderful thing is Msgr Jamie Gigante
Right.
He runs the show there. He said that there's an increase in students attending Catholic schools, a 2% increase. This is wonderful because I remember, a few years ago, Catholic schools closing and all that, and that I felt that very sad moment for us, for our religion. But now he said it's so. So I get involved with these kind of things.
It's wonderful. And you're right. The pandemic showed the great value of Catholic schools. And we're thrilled that more people are coming forward saying, I'm going to give that. It's extra work because people are paying taxes and then they have to do Catholic school tuition, but they're going to work hard to do it because they realize the value of that Catholic education. Lydia, before we go off, aside from the book that we've already mentioned, for our listeners and viewers around the world, where can they find out more about the things you write, the things you do? Is there a website for Lydia?
There is. It's lidiasitaly.com, all one word, no apostrophe. Okay. And then I'm on YouTube. I am Tutto Lidia. I have also on YouTube. I am on Instagram. I am a Twitter, a Facebook, Lidia Bastianich Facebook. Right. So they could really find out there about me, what I'm up to, and what am I doing.
I want to thank Lydia for being with us. Lydia, you are great. You're tireless and you've got a generous heart. You're driven. You value things that really matter, both about our country and the world and our faith. I hope in some ways you'll live forever because you have so much to teach so many, and you give of yourself so generously. Really, I've got a mad crush on you, woman, and I hope you live forever. So, Lydia.
Well, I don't know forever. I'll take close to 100.
Okay.
All right, Father.
You're the best. Thank you for being with us. God bless. As we end today's program, I want to thank you all for being with us. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach me at personallyspeakingpodcast@gmail.com. You can also get past programs as well as our current programs on YouTube by going to Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. Please don't forget to click like and subscribe. You can also find our shows at personallyspeakingpodcast.buzzsprout.com or www.closeencountertv.com or www.ollmp.org. Personally Speaking is also on Facebook at Personally Speaking with Msgr Jim Lisante. We're also now on Instagram at Personally Speaking Podcast. Please share and let others know about Personally Speaking. I want to thank, if I can, all of those involved in the support of Personally Speaking. I'm privileged to serve as host and executive producer of Personally Speaking. Our producer is Lisa Jandovitz. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be with you again next time on Personally Speaking.